Have you ever just looked around at the world and wondered, how did we all get here? All these different cultures, all these languages, where did it all begin? Well, today we're going to dive into one of the oldest explanations out there, right from the book of Genesis, to see how it answers that exact question.
So here's the big mystery, right? How in the world does one single family go on to populate the entire planet? I mean, think about it, just one family, the only ones left after a massive flood. And from them, you get, well, everyone. The book of Genesis actually lays out a pretty fascinating answer, and we're going to unpack it piece by piece.
Okay, so our story kicks off right after the Great Flood. This isn't a blank slate, it's more like a total reset. And at the center of it all is one family. Humanity gets its do-over through Noah's three sons. You've got Japheth, Ham, and Shem. And according to this story, pretty much every single person, every clan, every nation, you can trace the line all the way back to one of these three guys.
All right, so let's see how this actually plays out. The text gives us what's basically known as the Table of Nations. Think of it like a giant, ancient family tree for the whole world. It shows how all the different branches of humanity started to spread out from this one single root.
First up, we have Japheth. The story says his descendants really branched out and shaped a huge chunk of the ancient world, and they did it through their connection to one thing in particular, the sea.
Yeah, so Japheth's line? They're the seafaring folks, the ones who settled all along the coastlands and out on the islands. And here's a really interesting detail the text throws in. As they spread out, each group started developing its own language, its own identity. Now tuck that little fact away because it's going to be super important later on.
Okay, on to son number 2, Ham. His descendants, well, they're tied to some of the biggest and most powerful empires of the ancient world. We're talking major players here.
And look, these aren't just random names on a list. These represent entire civilizations. From Ham's line, you get the ancestors of the people in places like ancient Ethiopia and Sudan. You get the mighty Egyptians, the Libyans, and the people living in Canaan. This is a family of empire builders for sure.
But, these family trees aren't just a boring list of who begat who. Nope. Tucked right inside Ham's family line, there's this incredible, larger-than-life character who practically jumps right off the page.
His name? Nimrod. And he's introduced as the very first heroic warrior on Earth. This guy was a total powerhouse, a figure of immense influence who really made a name for himself.
Nimrod became so legendary that people actually made up a saying about him. If someone was a great hunter, you'd say they were like Nimrod, the greatest hunter in the world. But here's the thing, he was way more than just a hunter. He was a king, a founder of cities. His kingdom got its start in Babylonia, and he's the guy credited with building some of history's most famous places, like Babylon and Nineveh. You can just feel it, right? This was an era of ambitious leaders building these massive, powerful city-states.
And that whole idea of building great cities, well, that leads us right into the next part of the story, a time when humanity wasn't all scattered into different nations. Instead, they were one, single, unified group with a very big, shared ambition.
Just try to picture this for a second. A world where everyone spoke the exact same language. No translators needed, no miscommunications. Everyone understood everyone perfectly. That kind of total unity, well, it set the stage for something huge, something that had never been done before.
And they had a plan, a kind of 4-step blueprint for making a name for themselves. First, they all settled down together on a plain in Babylonia. Hey, sound familiar? Same area as Nimrod's kingdom. Second, they figured out new technology, learning how to make super strong bricks. And with this new tech, they decided to build something epic. Not just a city, but a tower so tall it would reach right up to the sky.
So why? What's the point of this huge project? Well, the text gives us their motivation straight up. They said it would make us famous, and this is the really key part, it would keep us from being scattered all over the world. It was all about legacy, about making a name for themselves, and just as important, about fighting against the idea of spreading out. They wanted to stay put, all together in one powerful spot.
Well, this ambition, this desire to build a monument to themselves and centralize all their power, it leads to a massive turning point in the story. The whole project comes to a screeching halt, thanks to something they totally didn't see coming, and it changes the course of human history forever.
The result was, wow. It was a total reversal. Humanity went from being this one united people with a single language to a world filled with countless different languages and scattered populations. Just like that, their unity was shattered and that huge tower project left unfinished.
And the city got a name, Babel.
The text points out that this name sounds a lot like the Hebrew word for confusion, and that's no accident. Babel became the place of confusion, the exact spot where language got all mixed up and people had no choice but to scatter across the earth.
And here's where it all comes together in a really cool way. Remember those family trees from earlier? Well, back in the line of Shem, there was a guy named Peleg, and his name literally means division. The text even says he was named that because during his lifetime, the people of the world were divided. The scattering at Babel, that's the event his name was pointing to all along. It all just clicks.
So, after giving us this huge, wide-angle story about how all the nations of the world came to be, the narrative suddenly does a zoom. It pulls the focus in tight, leaving behind the story of the scattered masses to follow the journey of just one specific family line. The spotlight is now completely on the descendants of Shem, and the story traces that line for us, generation by generation, going right through Peleg, the guy whose name meant division, all the way down 10 generations to a really important figure named Abram.
And suddenly, the story is on the move. Abram's father, a man named Terah, packs up his family, including Abram, and they leave the big city of Ur. They're heading for Canaan, but they don't quite get there. They stop partway and settle down in a place called Haran. Their journey is paused.
And that's where we're left hanging. The world is now this incredible tapestry of different nations and languages, but it all started from one family. Now, though, the spotlight is fixed on this one family, kind of stuck between the home they left behind and a future they haven't reached yet. The big question isn't where did we all come from anymore, now it's where are they going? In a world that's so divided, what could possibly be next for them?